owner of Grace and Goods Boutique.
And I'm Shelby, the owner of the RE Event Studio.
And this is the Business Bestie Podcast. Okay, I'm so excited to talk to you today. I know we haven't seen each other for like a week or two.
I know, it's crazy. That's why I was like, what's going on? What's new? Yeah.
Something I wanted to talk to you about because I saw it on your Facebook that you posted. You did an event recently with Greater Fort Wayne, a women's event, and you got to speak about the power of persistence. And I saw a little clip, but I was hoping you'd share that with our podcast.
Yes. So the main thing about, like you said, it was the power of persistence and just being persistent, whether that is, in your personal life or in your business life, and how that, kind of pertains to you. And I've definitely always been one of those people that I don't really like it when people tell me no. I'm like, okay, you told me no, but like, how can I get around it? Or, not in a bad way or not in a malicious way, but, like to me, there's always got to be a way. There is always a solution. And so I feel like I've just been one of those people that like just can't really knock me down or tell me no. And if you do, I'm going to figure out how to get back up. And so something that I did share at that event, it was pretty personal, but I definitely think it's something that I always look back on now, because it was something that we experienced about 10 years ago. And I definitely look back on that now, and I think, if I could get through that, then I can get through anything now. Like nothing will ever be as hard as that situation that my family experienced. So when I was pregnant, 8.5 months pregnant, my husband, who is from Bosnia, he came here in '99 legally. He has a green card, he actually got in trouble a long time ago when he was younger. He was 16 when he got in trouble, and they waited until he was an adult to put him on trial for a trial. And when you're not a citizen and you get in trouble in the U.S., you are supposed to, after you do your time in Allen County or wherever you live, you then are supposed to face immigration, and then they could potentially deport you. So he fell through the cracks. He did all his time. He served, did his probation, all these things. Well, when we got married, sorry, I kind of like did a little ziggy-zag here. When we got married and we left the country for our honeymoon and we came back into Miami, he was detained because, when you're not a citizen, you have to go into like an opposite line, so we were separated. And I'm like up waiting for him, and I get this call from him, and he's like, hey, they like stopped me and like they're questioning me and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. And they ended up like cuffing him and like holding him, and we didn't know if they were gonna let him go. And so anyways, fast forward a little bit, they ended up letting him go. They told him, when you get home, you need to, get a lawyer, face immigration, blah, blah, blah. Now, mind you, he was 24 when we got married. So this is 7-8 years later that like he just like fell through the cracks. It was nothing that he could have changed. His lawyers didn't tell him, like no one told him like, hey, you need to take care of this, you need to do this. And so we go home, he contacted a lawyer, and they were basically just like, wait for a letter, like they're gonna send you a letter. So a year goes by, we're pregnant, it's January, they come knocking on our door and they take him. And they say, you missed a court date. Well, he didn't miss a court date. Anyways, so they take him, take him to Indianapolis, and they basically arrest him, and they essentially put him in jail. And they say, you've got to face the judge and figure out like your fate, essentially. So I immediately was on the phone with lawyers, like what do we need to do to get this taken care of? Who do I gotta call? Who do I have to hire? And again, I'm 8.5 months pregnant.
It's crazy that you have to deal with something so insane and at the height of your pregnancy, and then you're alone.
Mm-hmm.
That's just
But my instinct kicked in, and it was like, again, like no one's gonna stop you, no one's gonna tell you no, like you are gonna get your husband home, like you're the father of your child, like you are getting him home regardless. And also too, like my in-laws, they didn't speak English. I mean, they did, but like not enough like to be able to help in this situation. So again, me trying to explain to them like what's going on, You know, everything was on my shoulders. You know, they were there to help if I needed it, or, you know, financially or whatever, like they were there. But again, at the end of the day, like I was the only one that could call the lawyers or call the jail or call, you know, the immigration people. And so I ended up actually being a week late with giving birth, because I'm pretty sure my child knew that he was gone, and she was like, I'm hanging on. Because they tell you, oh, you know, it's not like, you know, when you have a case and you've been sentenced and they give you a release date or they give you a court date or all these things, like it's 100% you're living day to day with having absolutely no idea what's going on. And they're not quick, and everything falls through the cracks. And so I was literally giving birth while, you know, on the phone with lawyers, and I kept having lawyers tell me, like, there's nothing we can do. We can't help you. He had, I don't remember the exact number, maybe like 85-9% deportation rate because of what his crime was. Mm-hmm. And they wouldn't let me get him out on bail, like nothing. So I was in the hospital after having Ari, and again, just still on the phone with lawyers, on the phone with immigration, and I'd not necessarily fire, but, you know, I'd let go of one lawyer and I'd hire another and let go of another, because again, I was like, no one is gonna tell me no. You know, I have to be persistent. You have to stay on these people, because they will just push your file to the side because they have 16 other files. So eventually, 4 months went by and we got him home, which was like record breaking. People stay in immigration for years and years until, you know, they essentially just get deported. And it's not an easy task to complete. Even the judge, when he was being released, they said, I don't know what you did or who you paid, but this is like, I cannot believe that you have done what you've done. Like, I don't know who your support system is or who on the outside you have or whatnot, but this is crazy. So it was something that even the judge was like surprised. Yeah. And I wasn't gonna take no for an answer. He had to be home. There was no way around it.
Thank God.
Yeah, I know.
Thank God he got home. Thank God him home.
Yes.
That is a heartbreaking story.
Yeah.
I mean, beginning with you being pregnant with your first kid, mm-hmm. and you guys are separated in the middle of the night, mm-hmm. and you're alone, you're dealing with this, and you have to keep calling, even on the hospital bed while giving birth. That is insane. Yeah. That is, if that's not persistence, I don't know what is. Yeah. But so this is probably the hardest struggle you ever went through in your life, I would guess, right?
Yeah, definitely, I would say.
Top three, probably?
Probably top three. Yeah, I mean, there was definitely things that I experienced, you know, as a kid. My parents are divorced, and they divorced when I was young, but like old enough to realize what was going on. And, you know, even I feel like even when I look back at the age of 9, like I jumped into action, and I was like, okay, you know, like this is what it is. This is how it's gonna be. You know, I'm gonna take care of it. I had a little brother, you know, I'm gonna take care of him. Like, you know, this is just, it is what it is. Like, there's no way around it. This is the hand you've been dealt, and you now have to deal with it. And just keep on pushing on.
I can see how that mindset can carry through to owning businesses. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously, you're gonna go through obstacles, and you have to stay persistent on things. Mm-hmm. You can't take no for an answer sometimes. I don't know if you know this, but Walt Disney went to 301 banks before he got a loan for Disneyland.
Oh my gosh, so, I had no idea.
So yeah, just a fun fact.
That's crazy.
You think of all these big business owners and entrepreneurs, and I'm sure they've heard no, or it's not possible, or you can't do that, probably hundreds or thousands of times.
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like even in the music industry, you hear that where people are like, they write a song, or they send in a tape, or, well, it's not probably tapes anymore, but
don't you just
you know, and someone turns them down, and again, if you're not persistent, you're never going to end up on the other side. Like, if you truly believe in something and this is what you really want, like, you just have to keep pushing forward. And it might take a month, or it might take 6 months, or it might take a year. Like, you never know. When I had the idea of the Ari, it was, gosh, so we've been in this space now for a year. And last year when we signed our lease, my contractors were like, well, you know, when do you want to open? And I was like, well, you know, we don't have a lot of work. It's essentially one big open space. It shouldn't be that bad. You know, I want to be open by May, but I won't start booking events until mid-July, just to give us, you know, a buffer.
To get ready.
And I've opened another business before and done other construction things and stuff like that, and so I kind of had an idea of what we were getting into. But in the 5 years in between, some things had changed with the city, and we got a new, you know, inspector and all of these things. And so the process was so much different now than it was when I did my boutique. So I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And trying to get my building permit for this space was insane. And there was so many times I wanted to give up. Like, I cried so many tears over this space for 3 months. And again, everything in me, it was like I had like the chip on the shoulder. Everything on this side was like, give up, like just stop. There's no reason to keep going on. Maybe now is not your time. But then this side was telling me, don't stop. Like, don't let these people tell you no. Like, if there is a will, there is a way, and you need to keep going. Like, look at everything you've already done. Look at everything you've already sacrificed. Like, why stop now?
Yeah, and you can get through what you went through with your husband. You can get through anything, and I'm sure that has transferred over into your business.
Yeah, I mean, 10 years, and I still think of it. It's still, I still have it in the back of my mind every day, you know? And so, again, if I would have just at any point in the 3 months that it drug out for me to finally get my building permit, quit, like, I wouldn't be where I am now. And, you know, look at where we are now. And
this beautiful event center.
I know, and just everything that's even come from that, you know, like the networking nights and the women that we've met and, you know, groups that we've grown. And so that's the thing too, is you just never know, you know, and I feel like I say this every episode, you just never know what's going to come of it. And, you know, if you can keep going and be persistent, then do it. Don't give up.
I think every struggle, in the midst of it, obviously you're freaking out, you're like, what is going on?
Yeah.
But every struggle sets us up for something that's going to come in the future. Kind of gives you immunity, so that when you come into these stressful situations, you're like, I've been there, done that. I'm gonna get through this too. If I could get through that, I'm gonna get through this. And I feel like sometimes our biggest obstacle is our own mindset. Just like you said, one person on the shoulder says, you're gonna fail, you need to quit, and then the other person on that shoulder is like, keep going. I don't think it's age or finances or any of these other barriers that we try to make excuses of why we can't. It's literally our mindset.
Yeah.
You have to tell yourself you're going to make it every day.
There's always a way. You know, we went through it too, you know, with trying to get bank loans and things like that for the RE. And again, I had people who, I think four banks told me no. And, you know, I found a way around every single one of them and finally got the financing that we needed to open this space. So again, there's just so many obstacles that come up in life. And I think if you can just have the mindset that you're going to get through it regardless, like, you'll always be okay.
I mean, you had another example of this just happened recently with your upcoming event, the tattoo and the shopping event. What is it called exactly?
So it's called Permanent Impressions. So it's kind of a play on obviously getting a tattoo, you know, that's there for life, it's permanent. And then it's also going to be mixed with a market. So it's all open to the community, completely free, you don't have to buy a ticket to come. So a shopping market. And again, we wanted to bring in makers and artists and vendors that, you know, make a lasting impression. So if you buy a necklace, you know, that's a lasting impression, or you buy a piece of artwork from some of these amazing vendors, you know, it's leaving a lasting impression. So, yeah, I was struggling with getting approval from the health department and just getting to the person that just needed to say yes, like one person. And I think it was about 3 months of like kind of going back and forth and trying to figure out, you know, well, who do I need to talk to? Who do I need to speak to? And it's like, you have to get through this person to give you this person's name. And then you have to get through this person to give you this person's name. And, you know, as soon as we got through all those barriers, you know, he was like, okay, you're good to go. Do this, 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 and this. And you're fine. Again,
persistence got you what you wanted, got you where you needed to be.
Yep.
So
eventually one day, people are just gonna know. Just don't tell her no.
Don't tell Shelby no.
Because I'm coming for you.
So with the RE and the struggle to open it up, what specific things were holding them back for giving you the go?
Yes, and so we had to do a change of occupancy. So for anybody in this process, and I know a couple other people that I've talked to have had to go through the same situation. And again, if you've never done it, you have no idea what you need to do. But we had to do a change of occupancy because my building was originally zoned for retail. And we had to get changed to assembly because, you know, once you get more than 30 people in a space, there's so many more things that you have to worry about as far as codes go. So with fire codes or water codes or, you know, the drywall that you have and the exits that you have and all those things. And so we had to basically get somebody to help us change that and then say that we were safe, you know, we are safe to have, you know, our occupancy of 85. And again, it was just getting through all those people because you have to go through the fire chief, you have to go through potentially the health department, you have to go through like the flood zone, you have like, there's like 7 stages, I think, which again is what is different from the last time I did that, and they never used to make you go through all that. And so it was, the biggest thing was getting the occupancy changed and then getting them to be okay with what I wanted to do here, and not just be occupancy of, I think it was 30 is what's pretty normal for like the square footage when you're retail, or maybe 40. So.
Well, I'm glad that they opened it because our city needed a smaller, more affordable venue because not everyone has $5,000 to book their bridal shower.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that was exactly what my vision here was. So I used to do, when I opened my very first LLC 8 years ago, I was doing wedding coordinating. And I was just doing day of. So like I would just have my brides, I would meet with them, talk about their day, and then help them, you know, just coordinate their day. And it was always, where can I have my bridal shower, you know, or my friend is trying to do a birthday, you know, where can I do it? I don't want to do it at a restaurant because I don't want their food, or I want something more private. And I never knew what to tell them, you know, I was, you know, your house, but then I also think, you know, since COVID especially, I feel like people maybe just don't want a lot of people in their house. And I feel like that has been a big change too. And so 2 years ago, I just had the idea. I was like, I really want to get back into events. I want to host my own events. You know, where can I do this? And I think we need a smaller, more unique, boutique-y space to throw all these things in. So we let people bring in their own food, which is huge.
Yeah.
It's huge, especially because catering can be a huge cost, first off. So if you can bring in, you know, your own home-cooked food, that cuts a cost. And then something else that I've experienced with religion is people have very specific items that they eat, and they want to be able to bring in those items, or, you know, that type of bread or dessert or, you know, entree from a, you know, ethnic standpoint. So when I got married, we got married in a hotel, and I remember my in-laws, they were like, you know, well, we want to cook a lamb and we want to bring a lamb in, and the hotel was like, no, you can't do that. I'm trying to remember, they did let us bring in one thing, and I'm like, was it bread? I don't remember, but they were nice on that front. But, you know, they were like, well, we're paying, you know, so much money to be here, we want to bring in what we want to bring in, and no, you can't, you have to use, you know, their food, their catering, you know, their bar, their DJs, things like that. So at least here you can bring in all your own stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's important when you are developing a plan for a business, especially small business, is you have to ask what's not out there, what do people want, what do they need. You have to ask, you have to answer their questions and provide something that they are needing. And I think that was something that Fort Wayne did need, was somewhere where you could bring your own food, or you can have a little bit more freedom with your financial, like what you're booking and who you're bringing in and what you're doing. So that's awesome that you're providing that.
Yeah, because the other big thing is, you know, a lot of places that are a little bit maybe less expensive, but they make you book the whole day. You know, they only have full day options. So that's still, you know, going to cost you, you know, $600 or $700 when maybe you really only need 3 hours. And so, you know, we book by the hour versus like a half day or a full, like forcing you to do like a full day. So that's been nice too. I would say their 3 to 4 hour bookings is our most popular.
Well, I love the Ari. I love what you've done. Your story is so inspiring. You've overcome a lot of obstacles, and it's inspiring for me as someone who's only a year into their brick and mortar boutique. So I look forward to having so much more stories from you and help from you.
Yeah, and I can't wait to hear a little bit about your journey and what you have to say. So I think we've got that lined up for our next episode.
Yes, we do.
So, okay.
All right, guys. If you have any questions or comments or maybe topics you want us to cover on future episodes, please comment them below and make sure you like and subscribe our channel, and we will see you